They're getting a fight back because they can't explain. When they come out here, they already have the system made up and they want us to sign off on it.
That's right.
And we getting kickback.
Yeah.
Not just from here. This was the best thing that came to our community neighborhood council because hey, everything she said was right.
Right.
But see, they're after her and they're putting out bad information and we asking them for proof.
Right.
And they can't give it to us. We ain't seen it yet. They telling me they can't open my email because I sent them a letter. I want to know what is the proof of it. Not a blog, but what do they really have to say about it? She's been around since 07 and it's 14 now. She's in every meeting. Something don't smell right here. And this is why we have to get together and be together and let them know that, hey, they can't come through our community no more. And that's what you have to do. You have to get everything in writing. Right. You can't say, we have to put everything on the permit, and this is what we're doing. And this is what they don't understand now. They want to know where we came from. Yeah. And you got your urban league, you got your community council, and everybody coming around saying, in the urban league will come to us to raise people up to come to their meeting. So it's a thing, and we are independent. And we're going to stay independent. Yeah. And we don't have any people telling us what to do. We're a neighborhood council. They say we can't sue the city, but we have the CHC, Community Health Center, is a 501c3, and they are willing to help us sue the city when they don't act right.
Right.
All right.
All right.
And we have to blame ourselves. I'm talking about the co-workers. Council Black Administrators. What their job is? Their job is to find sharp teachers, coordinators, and take them and mentor them and make them become black administrators. Right. So they go on to become directors and superintendents and even further. Right. Name me. I want somebody to name me the last done and young teachers that COBRA have trained and mentored. You can't find one. There is not one black male today that's in a position to go up the ladder.
I asked where the black male teachers were. I said, not the ones from Ghana and Nigeria.
Yeah.
Where are the African American teachers without the accent and dialects? Because our kids already, our English, we still have to learn proper English.
In 2000,
how do we?
in 2000, Roy Roman told Janita Hutler Hayes, who was the board president,
who's running for
I don't have to hire no blacks. Did y'all hear me?
Yeah.
And she shut her mouth because she was getting so much money under the table. Okay?
Yeah.
She couldn't do nothing. I got presentations I wrote. I played Jeopardy with the woman. On the board. I mean, I had time to hide up on the horseshoe. Listen to me. What I'm saying to us is that we are our worst enemy. Until we do what we're doing now and have some follow through. We can't just start here. Yeah. We got to follow all the way through.
That's right.
Just what she was saying about the young black man, a kid down the street from me, knowing all his life, went to school. He was a third grade teacher. You know him. Yeah. Erica's brother, Keenan, was a third grade teacher, teaching school and everything on Butler. And now, this is what he wants to do. But every year, at the end of the year, and he was into the school, every year, they give him a pink slip. Oh, so yeah. he really could, he said, I'm just tired. He said, I'm tired of Mr. Thomas, I'm going to have to give it up. He went and put in the DWP, and DWP paid him more, $80,000 more than the school teacher was paying. He said, I couldn't, and moved him and everything. But these what's happening to our black men that trying to get into the school
system. I heard, the money's not enough. They don't want.
No, but he was willing. He wasn't willing. He was out of the pink slip.
Yeah.
He wanted
making it hard for them to move up.
He wanted to know he had a family. Yeah. So he had to have something that to come home to his family. He just like you know what I'm saying? Just like you know what I'm saying? Like we in the 70s, in the 80s, in the late 90s, hey, it was plenty money. California, you know, you had jobs. That's why a lot of never had to pay the insurance or anything like this. The church now kids now have to pay the insurance and everything at $350 a month for insurance. That is ridiculous.
That is.
Mariam and Kalita?
Well, one of the things is, again, about connecting the dots. It's not just California that the black teachers are being eliminated from their jobs. It is all around the country.
Right.
And the way that they do that is through reconstitution.
Yeah.
When they say that the schools have not made their AYP and KPI and so forth and so on, and then the teachers have to reapply for their jobs, that is a way for them to cover, as a cover for them not to bring back the black teachers. So we have to understand that this is all of the gains, so-called gains that we made during the civil rights movement. It's all under attack.
Yeah.
They are rolling us back to what? Jim Crow, but actually it's even worse than that. It's back to slavery. Because when you look at the prison the school to prison pipeline, it's exactly that. And also another thing I want to say is that there are probably going to be more children in foster care. And the reason
Sure, fan around here? Do we have a fan we can maybe put in?
NTA has gone up on their fare. I don't know if everybody knows
we know that,
Effective September 1st, they're going up on the fare. There is a law that Kamala Harris had put in, and it's Senate Bill 1317, and it's under the child negligence type laws, right? And in regards to truancy, if a child misses 9 days or more, 9 days, then the parent can either be charged a fine of $1,000 and/or go to jail for 1 year.
You talking about here in California?
Right here in California.
They stopped that. They stopped that.
No, ma'am, it's still here.
No, because
It's still here.
they're not doing it because there's so many laws. Okay, they probably are still doing it, but they're not doing it as much. They stopped They stopped getting the detentions. The kids walking. They no longer give them tickets. They don't pick them up anymore. They're scared. The district is scared of the money that's coming out being sued by these parents.
Well,
Because they're finding out these kids have problems. You know, they're using it to fight.
Right.
You know,
Well,
they slow down because if that was the case, then we wouldn't have so many problems we have in school. They allow IEP students, when they turn 18 years old, to decide, which they have not gone to class or done anything but just come and just make a ruckus for the 3 years they've been there, if they want to still stay at the school or not. They still come up there with bring their guns and their knives, and the next week, they're still at school.
And beat up the teachers?
And beat up the teachers and tell you F you and all that. I mean, I was like floored when I watched this one kid.
Let's not start.
So I want to know what that
Let's always understand, this is what I tell parents, let's always understand when children are going through that, let's look at what's going on in there. Okay? So that is why we have to train our parents. And, you know, until we start teaching parenting to our communities now, I'm sorry, the second and third generation, some of them are lost. They ain't got a clue. And that's why I've got children. Hold on, Marian. I want Kalita and then I want to move with the cycle to 25 to 2. Kalita.
One thing that I wanted to bring up was that,
You want the book?
yeah, I did, because she brought up some other things I was thinking about, but as far as like going back to the civil rights movement, I think that was a major hindrance for black people, just because they gave rights and now you stopped working and working towards building your own community. Like back in the day, we were responsible for our education. Like many other ethnicities that come in this country, they go to Saturday school. They learn about their culture. They learn.
That's right.
They learn about their history. And the thing is like we expect the system, because most of us only know being American citizens. So we expect the system to educate us, and that's not the case, because if you look in history, all you learn about is, for being a black person, you learn about, oh, you were a slave, then the white man gave you some rights, and now look, we're all on drugs, and you see this. Like, people wonder why black students or black children are not involved. Like, why would you be involved? You see, majority of people are unemployed. People that went to college are out there working at Walmart, so why would you invest yourself into doing something like that if there's no direct benefit? So it's like showing, like you said, giving parenting classes. Because a lot of these parents don't know. They're the product of a crack era that was infiltrated into them. It wasn't like they chose this.
Yeah.
But a lot of the thing is, a lot of people are not realizing that parents and children are a lot of them are going through PTSD. Like, we're living in a war zone, and to believe that people are supposed to make sound decisions.
Yeah,
Going through a war
yeah,
zone
yeah,
makes sense.
Okay, so let me take you to this slide, let me take you to this handout, because it's important that you understand the pieces of documents I'm giving you.
Yolanda.
Hold on. I'll come back to you, Ross, I'm not forgotten. So we had programs that were funded by the federal government and the state, and when you have programs funded by the federal government and the state, it naturally comes with a series of monitoring, evaluation and accountability. When you remove and look at some of these programs, adults in correctional facilities, we just heard Rhonda tell us she lost a $1.5 million contract and they're now putting education in this new drug abuse institution they're building called a jail. So the money, you heard what she said, the money that should have come into education is going to that jail. So look at that dollar sign, they're convincing us in their propaganda, the local control funding formula is better. But I've already shown you the very first program. We just had a lawyer who's an expert in her field come and tell us that they've just removed this money that should have come here. Because don't forget, when money comes into, this is what I try to explain to parents about the charter schools. When the growth of the charter schools started to happen, we're now seeing a decline in enrollment in the district. It's not just in the district, it's the decline in enrollment of the dollars that we now receive in the public school system. Because once the child exits the schools, the public school system, the money follows that child. So that means all the additional things that we have for teachers and after school programs and arts programs and music programs, that's all going to go because that extra money doesn't exist. You understand the psychology?
It does exist, yo. It's more and more every year.
So yeah, I'm going to come
Per student.
Yeah, I know, but I'm coming to that piece in a minute. After school education and safety, scrapped by no control, by the no control funding formula arriving, in going to one big pot. Assessments. How are you going to scrap assessments? Child nutrition. Foster youth services. Didn't they tell you that foster youth is their priority? But they scrapped their money from the categorical. Understand the dynamics of how you get told things. KIA, the Quality Education Improvement Act. That was to downsize for our teachers who had like 50. One class I went in Hollywood, there was 52 children in this classroom. I said, how the hell does a teacher, I don't care how brilliant you are, 52 bright children, this is the School for Advanced Studies. It's like a room full of you, 3 times the size. With all of you of your brains, this one teacher is trying to fulfill the potential. It can't happen. They've scrapped that one. They've scrapped it. Then go down. Advanced placement. My daughter did 13 APs. 13. The average black child in LAUSD does 3. She did 13. You know why she did 13? Because I told the goddamn school my child is only going to do advanced placement. Because that's what you compete with in the world. All these honours, certificate in general ed, no one cares about that shit. Okay? I'm telling you, I'm an outsider. We look at that like, ha ha ha, that's what we got in 3rd grade. Those of you who came from the south, ha ha ha, that's what you got in 2nd grade. Okay? So you understand. So if you're going to remove that fee, and that fee was only $5, please, it was so minimal, it's not even worth talking about. How are these children from poor communities going to be able to achieve at the highest level? Do you understand the psychology?
Yeah.
We take away the money where the children have direct access, then guess what? They have to do general ed programs. Kalina's telling you ain't learning nothing in school, and you don't learn definitely nothing if you're in a general ed program.
You know what I'm saying? Money talk and everything else falls.
The CASE, the California High School Exit Exam Tutoring. When my daughter did this exam in 9th grade and got it, she asked me, why are the other children failing this exam? Right? Why are the other children failing this exam? But you've got to understand something. You see, from 0 to 18, we had a program. We went to after school, we had tutors, we did Kumon, we did Kaplan. You know what that stuff you not see as you drive down 100? My daughter was doing all of that. Just like, she goes in class with only Asian children, and let's break down Asian. I mean Hong Kong Chinese, I mean Korean, I mean Vietnamese.
Singapore.
Let me break it down, okay? So those are the classes. If we don't get with the program, we are not even going to get jobs in El Polo Loco. The one piece you guys missed, the one piece you guys missed when you spoke about teachers, And Sharon knows I've been on this mantra. If you go online to LAUSD right now, the first part of your application form says, are you bilingual? And they're not asking if you speak Yoruba or Punjabi, okay? Are you speaking Spanish? You've got to deal with a school district that is 74% Hispanic Latino. So if you want to work in the teaching profession, you don't speak more than English, I don't know what I can say to you right now, because there ain't going to be jobs for you. That's how they eliminated a lot of the African American teachers, right? Because you were not bilingual. Let's continue down the list. Civic education, well, this is what we're doing now. This is civic education in the making. This is how you groom children to become politicians, senators, legislators, assembly people.
They're not doing that.
If Teddy couldn't even get money to pay me to do this class, how is he going to get money to pay children to do this?
You're in the advanced classes where you pay for your child.
But I'm going to make the link for you in a minute. Look at this one. Educational technology. Everywhere, every newspaper you pick up, it tells you we are now 21st century technological world, right?
Yeah.
How are you going to eliminate educational technology? You know why? Because you're going to steal the money from somewhere else. This is one of George's campaign. They took all the money out of bond money that was supposed to build decent schools, and they put it into technology, iPads. And hey, I'm a big iPad Apple fan, so you can bring it to me anytime. But if you're not going to bring equality, I started to call schools and ask them, how many schools in the black area have iPads? How many do you think have iPads in District 1?
None.
No, they don't have any.
There are three schools with iPads. How do you get iPads in your school? How do you get iPads
Well,
in
they
your
said it
school?
was
Political power.
Now, that's what they told us.
Yeah, that's the propaganda phasing in.
Well, that's-
How do you get iPads in your school?
Connection.
Huh?
Connection.
That's right. The board members who had connections and who sit there and, oh, by the way, we don't have anybody who sits for Board District 1. Do you understand? For the whole year. So while all the other Board District players, Ratliff, Gallatin, Garcia is arguing, oh, what about our schools and iPads? Guess where the priority is? The priority is to the schools where board members will fight. Do you understand this psychology? And yet they scrap it, but they're supposed to be helping the
And this is why they're illegally replacing
But they're supposed to be
Lamont.
helping the poor children, right?
I thought there was when is the lawsuit going to be filed?
I thought
When is the lawsuit going to be filed?
That's why they put them on hold, because the kids are going to go out.
Facebook. Yeah.
And they knew that for a year, it's been on Facebook. Wait a minute, the real point is, they're buying them illegally according to the 2004 Attorney General opinion.
Right.
Case law to 1868, 2 U.S. Supreme Court decisions, and Lamont also.
Right, but
What do you mean?
with all of what George is telling you is right, but we've got to come back to who runs education in LA today.
Billionaires.
The billionaires. So all what George is telling you is right, but guess what? They don't care. And they will tell you that when they meet you. So we don't care what George does. We know George is right, but who's going to do anything about it?
Not the press.
Not the press and not the people, because we're not organised.
It's us only.
Let's
There are several
continue.
big changes in thinking promoted by the Local Patrol Funding Formula. First, the Local Patrol Funding Formula dramatically simplifies the way that state funds local educational
Get how they simplify it. Get how they simplify it. They scrap accountability, they scrap transparency, and they scrap monitoring. That's called simplifying, okay?
And here's the real trick. If we took you and showed you the original legislation and how they work the funding, I'm an expert nationwide.
Yeah.
We have a CPA who really knows his stuff, and we can't figure it out. And they say it's simple.
That's right.
They take 20 laws, multiplied by these 20 laws, and that's just to begin with.
Students. This level of complexity made funding hard to understand, manage, and explain. The Local Control Funding Formula funds all local education agencies using the same formula. It starts with a base amount per student that's adjusted based.
Okay, so let me say something. I'm going to give you another document that doesn't say that. It doesn't mean that every school district going to get the same amount of money. That's not true.
That's not true.
Major school districts get more money than small school districts.
Thank you.
So that...
Not always, Joe.
Right, okay?
I can show you the game on that.
Okay, so let me...
LA Unified is actually 2,000 above the state average
Right.
and above the national average according to the Department of Education.
All right, let's hold.
Grade level and
They
enhanced
lie.
demographic characteristics. Next, the local control funding formula replaces California's extensive and rather arcane collection of categorical programs with a more equitable formula for distributing state funding. Over the
What does equitable mean?
You have money,
What does equitable mean?
Fair distribution.
Equal and fair distribution. Okay, as we go through this training, keep putting that at the front of your mind. Another word you need to write down on the flexibility is equitable. Because everywhere you go, they're going to be going, this is not about equality, this is about equity. BS. Okay, it's BS. Alright, so write down the word. When you be hearing them, stop the presenter. Excuse me, can you define equity? I don't quite understand the word. Play dumb. I'm that person, I know you don't get it. Play dumb. Let them define it for you, because you know what? They can't define it for you, okay? It's their version of equity.
And go look in your dictionary at the definition.
specialized grants, competitive opportunities, entitlements, and a combination of one-time, multi-year, and ongoing funding.
So I've just given you that list. According to them, this is archaic. Alright, this is archaic because guess what? This was monitored, there was federal leads on it, you had to have a parent organisation that monitored this. So if you didn't spend the money right, the parent organisation could go to the federal government and go, we don't want any more of that money.
Or the state.
You ain't using it properly. Or the state. Guess what? They got rid of the parent group, we were on that, and now now they're really happy. Because they got rid of us first, because we were the thorn in their side, and now they've got rid of how they spend the money. It's like going to Saks and going, I've got a checkbook with $7 billion in it, Dave. He goes, what would I like to buy myself? That's his power.
Tell them why they had categorical funding in the beginning.
So categorical funding in the beginning was determined because there was a need. There was a need. Certain children had certain needs.
Special ed especially.
Right? And the government felt, and parents argued, and the community argued in the 50s and 60s, that, these children who can pay to go to Kumon, our parents can't afford that. So we're going to give supplemental money so our parents can get tutoring for their children and get music classes and get dance classes, and our children are gifted. They need a highly gifted curriculum. We need differentiated. So that's all now scrapped. Watch what they're telling you.
To a large degree, history, circumstances, and luck determine the level of funding received by a local educational agency prior to the local control funding formula. In addition to simplifying the method for calculating funding, the local control funding formula importantly clearly relates funding levels to student needs by providing more funding to local educational agencies based on the number and concentration of poverty, English learners, and foster youth.
Okay, so as we go through today, we've got to really understand these terms. Get your highlighter out. English learners. What is the definition of an English learner? Low income. What is the definition of a low income? And foster youth. This is where the priority is. Everywhere Khalid, me, Mary and George have been, we keep saying, what about all the other subgroups? Because English learners, they are categorizing as Latino and Hispanic children only. Right. They have legislation written for their children only. We can't knock them. Their community got organised. I tell black people, why are you getting mad? They got organised, got legislation written for them, passed, and got it supported. We haven't done it.
There's no federal definition for English learner that's been reported.
Right.
There's none in the air codes.
But guess what? They're working on
They
it.
use English learners broadly, but it has not been defined.
Right, but in California, they defined it because guess who defined it? The majority community. So what I'm saying to you all is when you hear these terms, you have to understand that our children are in all three of those categories, and I'm talking specifically here African American and black children. But because we have not been written into any description, we are being left out. So basically, as this movement grows, this school reform movement, We're seeing more and more and more of the traditional public schools that are in the black communities not being funded properly, don't have great teachers, principal change every 6 months, every 2 years.
Yeah.
And then the funding that they're supposed to spend on those schools don't get funded because you don't have activist parents like us in those schools who then advocate on behalf of their children. So that's why I feel the Neighborhood Council, you guys play a critical role now to represent those communities, those children in those schools, because let's be honest, the parents are absent from those schools right now.
I have a question.
Yes.
But I can come back if you want to go.
Okay, then you hold your question, Patty.
Another big change with local control funding formula is that it's performance focused. A key provision of the local control funding formula is that local educational agencies must have
So it's when you see the performance, see what child delivers the performance picture. Just think of the psychology. I'm just letting you know. Listen, I thought. So when it comes to the when it was about the money they were broke, you saw what picture. Now it's all about performance. You see what picture. And so you thought you say, ain't got pencils.
But he doesn't fit the criteria.
Okay? All right?
What happened to...
I love Chairman Mao.
What happened to the
accountability plans.
Disappeared.
Show the relationship between state priorities, oriented towards student outcome, and how state funding contributes to student success. The final big change is that the local control funding formula is student focused. The local control funding formula places flexibility in the hands of local educational agencies with the expectations of improved outcome from...
How many times have you seen that word flexibility? So imagine this now. Imagine, America. I'm going to come at you as Americans because I'm not. You now create a flexible education system to be able to develop everybody. But yet, for 35 years, you're closing the achievement gap. For 50 years, you ain't meet but Brown versus Board of Education, right? For 60 years. But now you're going to make this thing so flexible like it's going to be like a rubber band. You're going to pull it and the thing's going to go up in the air. No, seriously. For me, this is so real for me since I had my daughter, Camille, my 2-year-old, and looking at those 2 little people. This is really about them now.
That's
We're
right.
creating a flexible education system that ain't going to teach them nothing. Are you hearing me? Because Sharon, Jahenda, and Mary going to tell you as teachers they don't have no say on what they teach anymore. Absolute none. They don't have no... since I've been here living in America, you've had response to intervention. What the hell was that, I was thinking, when Dr. Elliott, who couldn't talk herself out of a paper bag, was the chief education academic officer, came in the room, and I thought, you brought her, tell you, when I was in the room, I'm always a nightmare. As soon as they see my hand up, they go, oh God, what's she got up? I said, so let me get this right. You've got this pyramid, you've got children at the bottom who are not achieving, then they're going to go to the next stage of the pyramid, then when that don't work, you're going to put them in the third stage of the pyramid. I said, why do you need a pyramid? You already know what children you can't teach. Why don't we talk to the teachers and the families? Oh, careful. I saw that coming. Careful.
I got a hard damn head, man. It takes more than that shit to get me.
So Judy Elliott came with her master plan. She came and went. The master plan didn't even survive. Then after her came Aquino. Well, he's got to be the biggest I've seen in a lot of worry. He came with master plan number 2, right? No more response to intervention. We're scrapping that. We're now going to work on, because don't forget he was trained by Eli Broad, and the Eli Broad model is the reform model. So now we got our chief academic officer who don't do his history. Ask where Aquino went to and has achieved it. That's what you've got to do when you do your homework. If you go to New York and you ask about Aquino, they say we were so glad we came to LA because he didn't do nothing in New York. Alright? So now we've got response, we have response to intervention, now we've got, then we had Aquino with his master plan on English learners, for English learners. I said to my Hispanic parents, you ain't got nothing out of this either. So he come and gone. Now, can you believe it? We have no chief academic officer since we run out of Aquino. The only reason Aquino went, George, me and Walter know the real... I got an email from the federal government, and when I sent it to them, and he lied front of the whole school district. He had to take early retirement and resign.
2 hours after she got done with him,
Oh my God.
he was gone. Huh?
You got, that thing cut your head.
I know, so what?
Take it easy.
I get cut all the time, so what?
So we have no
Point
chief,
in the wound.
we have no chief academic officer, but guess what?
No big deal.
We have this word. So it doesn't
cut all the time,
matter. So I ask all my parents, like Ross, whose children are currently in the school district, you've had no chief academic officer for a whole year.
But hold on,
But you've
yo.
had flexibility.
We haven't even had a
Hold on, yo. You put a dumb interim in there now. Don't forget the interim. Tell what the interim was, what it was at first, and then take it back to that.
Yeah, so now we got Maria Casillas,
Who was the chief of what?
who's a chief of parents, coming to run your academic system.
Oh, my God.
Is she gonna be the new one?
She's the new interim.
Okay, let's tell people who Judy Elliott was. Judy Elliott wrote the RTI law and promoted it. I analyzed her for the special education community, and my RTI video is one of the most watched RTI videos on YouTube, and I explained to you in 6 to 10 minutes how I can steal 60% of special ed money, never help them, never have to keep records, and who cares? So they made Judy Elliott look like she got run out. They gave her a $280,000 payout, shuffled her into another $380,000 a year job, and she just got caught robbing them on the East Coast. No, I don't need this.
Let's
Here.
continue. Let's
Yeah.
continue.
across a variety of measures.
Yeah.
Flexibility improves outcomes.
I don't care. I just bleed all over.
Partially provides funding to local educational agencies. We need to change the way local educational agencies and the state operate to better support district performance. Achieving the goal of improved outcomes requires local thinking that is very different from the system we have come from, which is daunting but an exciting opportunity. Thank you for viewing this edition of the LCFF Channel's implementation. More information.
But what do they have on there? Flexibility. What is flexibility? I do whatever the hell I want to do.
www.cde.pa.gov. Thanks for viewing.
Thanks for viewing. Yes, we're
In other words,
watching it, but we are
contact
interpreting what we're viewing. We just ain't watching anymore. We can't afford to do that anymore. Okay, we have to watch and ask the right questions. Okay, here comes the next one. What should LEAs do now? Let me pass that one round.
But yo, some of the new parents, new folks, please ask somebody about West Ed. Act like you don't know nothing about it. Just ask them. Who is West Ed?
Who is that?
It's an education research.
What's that? What is Who would I ask?
Principal, I'll make sure you have the YouTube channel. Sheriff and everything. Oh, everything. Including Lamont's last board meeting.
Where they coming from.
Absolutely.
Because our neighborhood was worse. And so, I'm gonna give you an example. When the Endeavor came,
Yeah.
we asked them for help. They said they didn't even know the Endeavor was coming through here. They said they didn't know.
And it was a house move.
That's right.
That's why they didn't have to let anybody know.
You know what, if we hadn't got behind that, with our organization, with CHC help, and the neighborhood councils, we were able to get $4 million and different things for them. But our officials said they didn't know nothing, and when it turned on King and Crenshaw, every one of them was there taking pictures.
Yeah, but they know.
And that all happened right in this room, right here.
I mean,
You know, like California, Malibu, and all those schools going towards the coast. Don't they have a state program like
that's right.
The state what? Everybody's in LCFF.
Yeah. What should LEAs
It's a state program that this is experimental place to move privatization, okay? What is going on with these iPads, really, I'm gonna tell you.
George, we can't.
They're gonna bankrupt every school district, privatize it, and it's over.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me-
Not a single school, complete district. Boom.
Okay.
That's what they did, that's what they did in Norwich.
You need to, this is the important one. It's what they tell them.
In other words, local educational agencies are expected to begin rethinking their approach to planning, budgeting, and using funds aligned to the 8 state priorities associated with LCFF. This includes, first, compliance with Williams requirements.
Sure.
What is the Williams requirement? Tell me, someone tell me. Books?
Textbooks,
Yeah.
materials,
Material.
equitable material supplies.
Right.
It's a textbook, instructional materials and supplies.
Yolanda?
Yes.
Question about the Williams requirements.
Yes, I'm asking.
Because within the union, there's been is it only materials or is it also services?
It's everything.
It's everything.
So let's be really clear. The 3 bullet points for Williams is every child is meant to have a highly qualified teacher in front of them in their classroom every day. That's number 1.
Well, that's not happening.
Right, but guess what? Guess who's the people who are supposed to monitor that? Us, the parents. So if we don't monitor it, guess what? It ain't gonna happen.
How do we get the students involved? Because they're the ones who come up and tell me, this teacher's a sleeping room in the room.
That's right.
And then, or this teacher's not stopping this other kid from hitting this other kid.
Right.
Or he's on the cell phone, he's telling us his problems at home. I mean, the kids that come and tell me, the teachers are telling us their problems.
Okay, so hold on. No, that's whole public. So, highly qualified teachers, every child is supposed to get access to the same materials. This is why I'm talking about the iPads. Because if Daisy is rolling out iPads, every child have an iPad, then every child must have an iPad. Not just the ones in the Valley, or the ones at Laces, or the ones at Bravo, or the ones in high-performing schools. Every
Or
child.
Garcia's district.
Right, so what we need to argue...
What about services, like nurses and counselors and all that?
That's not in Williams.
That's not in
No. And then the third one is the state of your school. So your school should always be clean. You always have toilet paper. I mean, someone phoned me the other day and said, there's no toilet paper in my child's bathroom. I said, go take it. You got iPhone, you got smartphone, go take a picture, and then you post it on every website and Facebook you know. Guess what? They will soon sort that out. But parents... I have got that one. Is there not enough? I'll get another one, don't worry. So those are the 3 things. And the district, every quarter, has to produce a report for the state to be in compliance. And me and Walter, sometimes are the only 2 people in the boardroom when they're presenting those reports. Because it comes from, the Williams report. They have someone who works in the district, one woman, one little black woman who works on the Williams complaint. Her job is to ensure that the district is never out of compliance. Mary.
Let me say something on the positive side. Out at Wright Middle School, parents brought a lawsuit because Williams was not being enforced. These kids had all these teachers, and I was brought there because they were not in compliance. Because I'm a single credential teacher with mathematics. They had everyone teaching these kids. They meant it. They brought 2 teachers over there because a parent complained. But over at man, those kids have had nothing but subs all year. Chaotic. Nobody doing anything.
That's correct. Right. So one of the...
Because they did nothing, right?
Because one of the things I want us to start doing is, Carly or Ted, can one of you just chart the scripture what our priority is?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
See, one of our priorities,
Don't worry
this
about
is all solution based.
Oh,
One of
don't
our
have to
priorities as a movement is that we have to now be visiting these schools that have high concentration of African Americans. I've got the names of the schools. High performance, high concentration of low-income, disadvantaged students across the district. We, as the movement, have to go visit these schools with a checklist. Just say, why are you here? I'm here to visit my school.
And they have to be right in the class. Only one parent.
That's it.
Not in compliance.
That's it, and they have to
Immediately, right middle
That's
school.
right.
They came into my room on the 7th and said, oh no, you have to go to Wright tomorrow.
Right. That's what I mean.
Right. Oh yeah.
So parents have so much power. We have so much power, right? One parent has so much power. But if you don't know what your parents are, guess what? Has the district done any Williams settlement training this year? Oh, hell no. When we were in the DAC, you had to do they're fully in compliance.
Yes,
Well,
fine.
UTLA, Sharon knows, they did a website. They showed all the cockroaches, they showed all the bad food. You have to go and look at our website. Teachers just recording in their classrooms what was going, rats running around. And this is all part of Williams. This is all part of Williams.
It's not in
Well, they're
compliance.
getting ready to plan, the LA Unified is planning, there'll be no more nutrition, they're gonna serve the breakfast in the classrooms. Now, let me tell you, this is new, the district has laid.
We've been doing this for a while.
It's on the school, it's new.
They're changing.
But I do want you to know the reason why you probably don't have the, I'm gonna take up for the janitors, because the district, let's say you have 30 employees that was cleaning up the school. Now we only have 6 employees.
Yes.
Okay, so that means that we have to, these 6 employees are doing more work than what they're supposed to. They're only really supposed to clean the bathroom. But they're sweeping the leaves, sweeping the water pump, whatever the kids do in the hallway. So I'm just letting you know, even if we did go to the district, they're not gonna rehire, I mean, would they rehire? They know what they're doing. Like who said they're getting ready for charter? That's right. They took away 30 employees from a school of 3,000 students. Now we have 6 people cleaning.
Yes.
You understand? So if you were to complain,
Yes,
I see what you're saying. The API's gone. They're and they're just shoving they're shoving the employees because now we had a AP Dean. She was just hired last year. Do we have the money? She's gone.
Right.
Hold on. I want you to understand that.
But they will.
That is to move you to a charter school at ASAP.
I know that. I see that.
That's what that's about.
Okay, so the first thing that we have to...
Destroying the school.
They are.
Okay, so
To have the money
number
is
one,
what you do with the money.
George,
We're running out of time.
number one, Carlin, we have to train parents and the community in the requirements of Williams. Because that could start to close down the school district when we begin to do that. Alright, let's continue with the PowerPoint. We need to make that action plan.
Sufficient instructional materials, and having facilities in good order.
Alright, there's your 3, Mary.
Yeah, I know, it's
Implementation of
bad.
academic content and performance standards adopted by the State Board of Education, including how the programs and services will enable English learners to access the Common Core academic content standard.
Okay, so let's be clear. Let's be really clear on this one. In California, across your country, you've adopted something called Common Core. In a way, I have to laugh because Common Core is now reverting back to the colonialistic British English style of teaching. I've got to be honest with you. Common Core is how I went to school. We just didn't call it Common Core. We called it Standard English Learning, which was our academic system. They've now introduced this back into California. Now the problem that we've got is California every 2 to 3 years scraps something and brings something new in. Alright? Okay, so they spent billions on RTI, that didn't work. Now they're spending billions on Common Core. We've already got a report I can send you that says Common Core ain't working in the districts that have adopted it. Because now you have to retrain teachers. Now teachers have been retrained, and I have to be honest, I would have opted out by now. I would have said, Sharon, you lot are good. Jenga and Mary, you good. Because I would have said, you know what, this is BS. I didn't sign up for all this every year, but I'd learn a new system.
That's true.
And it's just ridiculous. It's the disempowerment of teachers.
Really don't have to attend the training if they're not being paid the regular rate. And that's the easiest way to boycott.
Right.
And it's like I said, we have teachers that are playing the victim of being in abused spouse.
Yes.
So they don't have the willpower, I'll say, and even the sophistication to just boycott the
Just like the parents. The parents don't have those same sophistications.
If I can piggyback on what Sharon is saying, it's so bad that teachers are willing to actually forego their own rights. For instance, when a bully principal wants to call them into the office and talk to them alone, they don't have to do that.
No, they don't.
But they do. But they do. And most of them do. So that's what we're dealing with here.
Why? Teachers don't even know who they are. I challenge anyone here to know who founded UTLA and why, and who turned LA Unified into #1. My best friend, who's still alive and nobody cares what he says.
Then you should bring them out.
They don't, your teachers don't know who they are or anything.
calm down. I know you.
No, it's a fact,
You're passionate on that one, I know, brother.
and for a reason.
Yes, you are.
That's why they're a mess.
Let's
Yeah, quiet.
You guys brought the point up.
So the 8 state priorities, can you write that up, Carly? We have to teach every parent every priority. Because when parents realize under the 8 state priorities, you now have power because you can determine what happens in an LEA with these priorities. But you notice all the literature that is put out by these community groups, they're not breaking, they're just sticking to number 3, the parental involvement, which to be honest is the weakest piece of the whole 8. It's the weakest of the 8. It has no legislation behind it, it has no power behind it, it doesn't hold anybody accountable, it's the weakest. We need to be teaching the parents the thing that's going to make the difference.
That's right.
Right?
That's what
Right? The thing that can really make the difference. I'm not saying we're going to ignore parental involvement, I'm saying we have to teach it to them where they understand their power.
You're talking about implementing it through consent decrees.
Each individual school site, and including how the school district will promote parental participation in programs for economically disadvantaged pupils, English learners, foster youth, and individuals with exceptional needs. The 4th priority is pupil achievement, is measured by multiple measures, including but not limited to assessment data, college readiness, and language proficiency.
Bubble
The
tip.
5th
Right, let's get on this pupil achievement. Pupil achievement, what does that mean? Tell me what that means.
In what school district?
What does pupil achievement mean?
It's supposed to be a student advancing in education at a proper rate according to what they should be normally expected to do grade by grade. Competency mainly in English and math.
Teachers, give me what pupil achievement means.
Mean engagement, because that's, I'm sorry.
Pupil achievement has to do with them making benchmarks in meeting state standards, of which right now is gone from the state standards to Common Core, to which there is no assessment.
Thank you. You understand? That's what I'm asking you all. That's what I'm asking you all. Because everywhere we go, they say, we're a career to college ready district. Bullshit. Sorry children. BS. 68% of LAUSD students will graduate this year. 68%, that's just over half of them. So basically, half of the students ain't gonna make it.
32%.
But they're talking about, hold on, Paul, but they're talking about pupil achievement.
Right.
So we have to get a definition of pupil achievement. We are expecting everyone else to give us that version. See, my version of pupil achievement, I set out in my own plan for my children.
I did too.
Okay? So I was really clear. I wanted teachers, number 1, who loved and cared about my children first. Because I knew if they loved and cared about my 2 black children, they were going to want to do the best for them. 2, they knew that the only person who was going to be monitoring their backside was going to be me. I was going to be monitoring them. So if you tell me that you gave my child a piece of homework, I can guarantee you, as I stand here today, as their mother, it's going to be done. So when they do it, will you mark it? Will you hand it back? Will you contact me if you're not happy with something my children? You know, I think this pupil achievement thing is a fantasy. Because every child is different.
That's right.
Every child is different. So I can't come in here and tell you, this is what my child achieved and say to you, I expected your child to do the same. But we must have some form of standards. So I'm suggesting, through these priorities, we have to create something called the Family Index on Education. What do we as parents expect in education? We have to lay out some of the ground rules. Not just administrators, because let me tell you, the teachers have no say in laying out these ground rules right now. All of it's coming from the school reform movement and from the administrative movement. And I don't mean the principal in a school. I was lucky when I went to a school, in fact, the 2 schools me and Paul been to today, both the principals told me you were a breath of fresh air because you ain't on the payroll, you can tell it as it is. Yeah? And you were a breath of fresh air. And everything you said we've wanted to say, Yolanda, but we're on the payroll. Right? Right, it's right.
We
A breath of fresh air.
trained a few SSC staff, principal, and all. They said, you know what? We this is the best training we ever had.
Right.
I've been into the teaching and...
Priority is pupil engagement, measured by multiple measures, including but not limited to rates associated with attendance,
Family,
absenteeism, dropouts from college and high school, and high school graduation. The sixth priority is school climate, again measured by multiple measures, but not limited to pupil suspension and expulsion rates, as well as other local measures assessing.
So let's look at this thing called school climate. Okay? What is school climate?
Get rid of the police.
Yeah, for starters, why is all these police on everything? There's more police in the LCAP plan than there is anything on African American Material.
Okay, you got it out there. I'm sorry.
I think you're not doing the kids coming in. Really, very Yes.
No, you got it.
Teddy? Hold on, Teddy?
Okay, you got...
Hey, okay, well, that's
Boy, this is a hot button.
I want to say something.
No, you got it.
No, she called me. Okay, well, hey, all I'm gonna say, one thing that we should look at, cause I had the problem when my son was going to school, but I stayed up at school all the time anyway. They was taking off, they take off their grades how on their conduct. Some of the teachers.
That's right.
They take off their conduct, and that was the biggest problem that I was having. You cannot take off a kid's conduct. I was for him to have all A's in the red check because you don't know what kind of punishment he's gonna be in when he come home because I'm gonna take it. But me and the teacher almost got into it because he said he wasn't gonna change. He said 15 points off my son's grade, changed it from a A to a C, and we had it in there. He said he wasn't gonna change.
No, you were right.
Yeah, cause he was, but he changed it. Cause we had it out. But that's what you have to look at it. I think that's what happens to a lot of the kids. That these teachers that come in, they change, they take off because the kid is acting up and they talk about, say something. Instead of giving the red check, they take off from the grade.
Kalida, hold on. Hold on, Kalida. I'm coming around. Kalida and Walter and Marion and Rose. Let's respect each other. Okay, Kalida. Thank you.
So as far as school climate is concerned, I did many presentations on this, especially when we worked with the president of the UC system, because we felt that the school climate is not conducive for Black students succeeding.
Right. That's the starting point.
When you say have police on the campus, it's already telling them, like, we already get images from the media, we get images from just going outside their house and seeing police cars and helicopters that you're meant to be a criminal. So to have, how do you expect people to want to learn in a facility where they're being taught that they're a criminal?
Well, you don't create those influences. Then you don't create these.
Let her finish. Let her finish.
There are other ways to deal with conflict. So, for example, instead of having police officers have school peer mediation, have something that deals with the problem and not criminalize the people that are in the problem. And also for school climate.
Let's listen to the youngsters, seriously.
Yeah, also for school
You guys
climate.
had down say something.
Hey, also for school climate, the climate for teachers right now is not conducive for success as well. Like I was accepted into Teach for America, where they send out mostly people that just graduated from college to go teach in inner city schools. How can me, a 22-year-old, teach someone in high school? Like you have me being a special ed teacher for 9th graders at 22, fresh out of college. Like that's not a climate that's conducive for their success. Like not saying that adults have all the answers. I definitely don't believe that. But I do think that you need more training. You can't just expect, and you're sending these people to low-income schools. It's not to schools in Mar Vista or Beverly Hills. Like no, you're sending unexperienced teachers in low-income schools. So that also goes along with school climate because they really know how to deal with people their own age. How can they deal with children that have a...
Can you write that up? I think we need to address, we have to define school climate. Right? Yes, it was going to be Walter, then Marion, then Rose. I didn't see the young person's arm.
I don't want to hear from him anyway.
Go, Brian. Stand up so we can hear you, sweetheart.
I believe school police is necessary because I know drug dealers at my school, kids who bring knives. Told this kid, if you touch me, I'll stab you. Like it's not a game. Like I don't want to put faith in somebody. I want just the sure thing. Oh, we got a police. Oh, they're gonna get like. We need professionals. We don't need people to.
Good. It was two views of points there, so that
You're right on.
So then it's Walter, then Marion, then Rob, then Khalid. Walter.
What the key background to any school is to have meaningful parental involvement. Give me an example. When I started at my elementary school, there was no parental involvement. I made it a mission to get parents to volunteer. I came up with 80 volunteers in the school. We sent the school police away from the school because kids obey parents better than they do any other authority.
Don't worry about it.
We took the police completely out of the elementary. Then at the middle school, we took the police out of, they had an office in the school. So, okay, that's fine. You can be there in that office because the school had twice as many pupils in it that it was supposed. It was built for 800 people and they had 1,700 students in the middle school. Okay? So, but going again with parental involvement. Parents monitoring in the bathroom, parents monitoring in the hallway when the kid's supposed to be in the classroom. You don't have to leave your child.
Marion.
Okay?
Marion.
Yeah. My thoughts on having police in schools. Number one, each school system has security, and then they also have the school police. School police are trained for what? Criminals. So by having school police in your schools, or LAPD or whomever, that means that you have criminalized all your children. Every child is a criminal, not just one, or two, or three. Excuse me, but you know what? May I continue to speak, please?
Yeah.
My whole thing is that they are trained differently. Their training is differently, and they treat the children different.
Okay.
And also, the grants that come into the schools, they are tied from the federal government. They are directly tied to having the police there.
Right.
That's one of the components. You get federal funds, you have to have the police there. Okay. So that's.
We're gonna go to Ross. Ross.
Okay, the district has set up the chaos.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's the situation.
Yes.
So all I want to say is that I feel the way we can get these parents, summer school that's coming up, I don't know where they got the money, but the summer school that's coming up, I decided that I'm going to take a list of all the D's and fail students, their parents' name and address, and I'm going to start going to their homes.
Right.
Wow.
And I have somebody that's going to do it at Dorsey. We're going to try to get Crenshaw, but we all need to do this together.
Right. Did you pull that up there? Home visits parents by parents.
Wow.
Gwen, sorry.
That's the way we can do it.
That's awesome.
Because I'm
Take a picture of that. She has all the notes that we know.
Oh yeah, I'll get some of that.
Then you have notes.
Well, the supervisor requirement, my mind is going to a shift from the police, but to where now we have our little girls go to the bathroom and a boy can walk into the bathroom where our little girl is doing her private business.
It's called transgender.
Right. Because nobody said what this person was, is still a boy.
Yeah.
They sign up as a boy, they are a boy. And they're going into the girl's bathroom.
Well, they're not supposed to
Khalid, you have the point.
That's how law should make it happen.
I don't want us to get lost because as a PAC representative, this is critical to understand and know, but what's even more critical is understanding, like our sister just told us, Khalid, the solutions.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. As parents, community members, we're here for the solution.
That's right.
Now, just to touch on the book, nobody here is wrong. Remember, even the district said, we don't even know.
Right.
We don't even know. By their own admission.
Yeah.
So by the same token, we have to accept that and understand that we don't have all the answers either.
Right.
But what we need to do is be in collaboration with them so that they don't dictate the standards like they have been doing for years.
And create our own conditions.
So our brother is right,
Yes.
our sister is right,
Right.
in the sense that, yes, we do need police on campus. But yes, I've seen peer mediation work.
Yes.
And sometimes a lot more effective because once they come involved with law enforcement, it's a done deal.
That's right.
So that's what we have to understand. And in the LCAP, the possibility for coming up with those designs is there.
Right.
So that's what I want to be focused on.
In the LCAP right now, they want to spend $13 million more on school police. That's a lot of money that's not going in the classroom and on teachers. Okay, let's continue with the PowerPoint.
One thing on the police, okay?
Let's go continue
The
this.
seventh priority is the extent to which pupils have access to and are enrolled in a broad course of study that includes core subject areas. That would include English, mathematics, social science, visual and performing arts, health, physical science, career and technical education, amongst others. Including the programs and services developed and provided to economically disadvantaged pupils, English learners, foster youth, and individuals with exceptional needs. The final priority is pupil outcomes, if available, in those subject areas comprising the broad course of study. The following are specific actions that LEA...
Okay, I just want to stop you again. You know if they said pupil outcomes if available. You got to really look at this. If available means you don't have to do it. Okay? I can go, you want me to go back so you can see that again?
Optional.
Don't miss it. Don't miss it.
If
Right?
available.
Don't miss it, because that's how you miss it when you come to argue your point.
Including the programs and services developed and provided to economically disadvantaged pupils,
That's us.
English learners, foster youth,
That's
and
us.
individuals with exceptional needs. The final priority is pupil outcomes, if available.
If available. If available.
What are specific actions that LEA should...
So tell me, if I go to Bravo and we need a new science teacher for a Bravo, do you think it's going to be if available? Those parents at Bravo going to tell the district, you better have that higher qualified science teacher for our students. You understand? And we only have a Roz at LA High who asks those questions. I've been in those rooms. And they all look at her like, why are you asking these questions? But she's still asking questions. That's why we have to, like Carly said, we have to have the solutions. And the solutions mean, when you look at what other CBOs are doing, they're putting out their papers, their doctrines, their propaganda. And we ain't, we're just reading it. We need to put out our doctrine, our propaganda. So it doesn't become if available, but we say we want these in our children's schools. So look at what happened. This is this year, remember that? Remember, when they say actions for 2030, this school's about to finish. So you tell me if what they're saying happened, okay?
Can I just, before we go on to that, this needs to be in your mindset. We switched over to Common Core. Our schools are still under No Child Left Behind in public school choice. And now they have iPads with teachers who have only, in my school, we do have iPads, my youngster's school, the elementary school, they've only had 3 days of training on that iPad when it first came out. They don't even have the broadband capability in the classroom, in the school, to make sure that when all of them are turned on at once, every student is getting instruction. Not only at Yes Academy where my children go, but that's at Angeles Mason and other elementary schools just in the Park Mesa Heights area. So with this in mind, and here it is, June, how in the heck are they going to get to the expected outcomes that are necessary to make sure that, one, we're in compliance with the funding? And two, most of all, are our children learning? Are we losing another generation?
And you just mentioned, here we are in June, when you say they gave these out, now they going to collect them, how many are they going to receive back? And what kind of condition are they in?
The issue was never getting them back. The maintenance agreement on the iPads is more than almost the cost of the iPads themselves over a number of years.
Okay, so let's go. Hi, Q. Hi.
Do you know what they cost you?
Thank you for the lovely
$23.55.
Bankruptcy. Update budgets with LCFF revenues and potential. How many of you seen the LCFF budget?
I have this.
Huh?
I haven't seen it.
You've seen the budget. Really? I mean, what did you tell me?
You haven't seen the real budget. You might have seen a page.
Okay, hold on a minute. Listen to my question. Have you seen the LCFF budget?
No.
Right. But in 2013-14, it was an action item. They told them part of the action was to update the budget. But you ain't even seen the budget. So how can you update something you've never seen?
Joke time.
Okay? Have you thought about what you want to talk to me yet?
Oh, I got it, go ahead.
You got it? Okay.
Okay, let me go ahead.
Oh, man, it's hilarious.
I'm going to take you back here.
Good.
Can we have silence so people can hear? Thank you. Take it back. People just want to hear this bit.
It's 13 pages, please. All 13 pages.
Update budgets with LCFF revenues and potential revisions of expenses. Because LEA's adopted budgets in 2013-14 before the passage of LCFF, the governing board must revise their budget to reflect both the funding and legislative.
Okay, you lot missed it, didn't you? You're not listening.
No, I heard that. I didn't hear it.
Okay, you need to listen.
Yeah, listen.
They said, because you've already received the LCFF money, you have to revise it in 2013-14. When did the money arrive?
12-13.
Last year.
The money arrived August of last year. So when they keep telling you as parents, as teachers, the community members, there's no money, what's he done with all the money that's already been given?
Yeah, but where is it? Does it roll over or does it stay?
There's no rolling over.
It's inter-fund transfer
Okay? I'm going to show you
to
the
where they
slide.
want to spend the money.
I'm going to show you the slide again.
Oh, anybody not get 13 pages of the frequently asked questions?
Yeah, because that's what you're going to learn.
Okay, we got 2 more. Hey.
Coming again.
Yolanda, you said last year, you finished August 20th.
Yes.
First, update budgets with LCFF revenues and potential revisions of expenses.
Listen.
Because LEA's adopted budgets in 2013-14 before the passage of LCFF.
Did you hear that? Before the passage of LCFF. Don't forget, they didn't write the legislation until January 2014.
Yes,
but
right.
Daisy had the money all that time. What did he do with the money?
No.
He spent it on consultants and highly qualified administrators and whatever he wanted to spend on. He's probably got some of it still in the bank. He probably bought a few more iPads for himself.
No, they spent bond money on that.
Anybody not get the 13 copies?
Okay, pass it on to me. Oh, you know what?
And board must revise their budgets to reflect funding and legislative changes directed by LCFF. This includes updating budgets by mid-August for LCFF revenues.
Okay, guys, you really got to listen to this.
Yeah, you guys got to.
Water.
So let me ask you this. Did he just say that the budget was given to us in August and it was, we haven't seen the budget yet, but the money was given to us in August?
Okay, so let's...
Before the LCFF was
Right, so
passed.
let's be really clear. LCFF was a discussion in 2010-11. The state was already... The state, because these people don't know this, they really need to know.
Yeah.
The state was already working on changing the funding that would go to school districts in California 2 years ago. They got all the superintendents together, led by Daisy. Do you need one? There's one more here. Somebody need one?
I got it.
You got it, okay. They're led by Daisy. This core, and I'm going to cover the core for you in a moment, these core superintendents led the onslaught of the change, because what happened was LAUSD was up for federal monitoring in 2012-13. The DAC had uncovered so much malpractice when it comes to our Title I dollars that we were paying, really, the districts paying the you-know-what. So when Maria Casillas arrived in 2011, her brief was to get rid of the DAC because leadership like myself, Walter and others were beginning to ask too many questions about where the Title I dollars was going or not going. Okay? So they scrapped the DAC. When they scrapped the DAC, Daisy arrived after Cortines, and that gave him carte blanche to now, when money arrived, start to make decisions on where he could and would not spend the money. So the money arrived on July 1st, 2013. That was where the first pot of money arrived. But the state and LACO, the county office for education, said, oh, we got to work this all out like they had worked it out. We got to work all this out. And while we're working it all out, we're going to send the money to school district and you can do whatever you want with the money. Remember, they've already scrapped that whole list of categoricals I told you. 48 of the most important categorical one was now in control. And we saw this coming. Me and Paul were going, how can Dave just say he's not going to fund librarians? How can he say he's not going to fund highly gifted children? Because he already knew. He already got the backing of government to make those kind of statements with no monitoring and no accountability. Okay? So this, he had to give them a budget. So if you go back in the minutes of the Board of Education,
I have the budget here, by the way.
Well, I don't want to go. He presents this budget, but what he presents is not the whole picture. Because at that point, none of us knew that they already had all the money. Okay? Only a few people like George and others knew that. But the money was already in their bank accounts and in their coffers. He's presenting the budget saying, this is a transitional year and we're still waiting for the money. No, they had 2/3 of the money in July 2013. Okay? So that's why it's really, and the thing about this work, I mean, this work consumes you, alright? Sharon and those of you on my email system know, I send you emails all 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, because it consumes you. Because you have to have your facts. You can't fight these people if you haven't got your information right. Otherwise they'll just try and twist it and fling it and say she don't know what she's talking about. So you must be informed. So he was supposed to revise the budget this year. So in the PAC meeting that Khalid and the others of us went to, they gave them a budget and told them this is the first budget. But how can it be the first budget? When Wested is already telling you they have 2/3, you just play the list. But they've never shown the parents what I'm showing you today, okay? He's never seen this. Yet he went on a training that they spent 1.5 million on. He's never seen this, pal.
That was straight garbage.
Yeah?
Straight garbage.
So are you saying that all school districts have got you through?
Yes, all school districts. Every in California
Of what?
got 2/3 of the money since last year.
Yeah, but here's another important thing, people. In the budget, I have DZ lying over 100,000 ADA. They're so dumb.
Yeah.
The state shows 541, they show 650 something. We have in this district 124,000 students last year. 19% of the entire district did not come to school, and that cost LA Unified in lost revenue $1.3 billion plus.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
Wait a minute, their income per student goes up, but the total fund goes down because they only had 14,500 not come in 2001-2. It's 124 now. So the revenue per student's up, but the total revenue to the district is down because they kick them on the streets and they end up in Bacchus Hotel.
Right, and let's be honest, they've also eliminated by introducing a lot of charter schools, which mean they're trying to
Those aren't counted in there.
Okay.
It's not counted in there.
Okay. Program rules and financial management rules still apply.
Okay, did you hear that? No. Did you hear that?
Federal.
Follow federal regulations. When you go to the district, they go, we don't have to follow no federal regulations. Local control means local control or flexibility. What did that just say? Follow federal regulations. You understand how they can just look in your face and lie? They don't even find
And you got a letter, from the feds, don't you?
I have a letter from the
Tell
feds.
them about it.
I have a letter from the feds where I asked the feds, what happened with the what money this year? Every time I asked the school district, they said they didn't get any. I've got it in writing, an email I will print for you next week, where she says, Yolanda, please, on behalf of the nation's parents, keep doing what you're doing. I'm not even American, people. I'm not even American. Do you understand what I'm saying? We've got to teach others how to do this, because otherwise they put a target on you. I tell you all lies about me because I'm telling people the truth.
Okay, now, that PowerPoint is coming straight from the state, right?
Yeah, from Wested.
Wested.
The consultants.
It's a private organization. It's it's actually a quasi-public-private organization. Okay, I'm just making sure.
So here's our question for our homework. If the federal regulations still apply, why have we got no monitoring and accountability? Alright? If the federal regulations still apply, then why is is there not an institution created? So what we're going to have to say is, guess what? Then we, the neighbourhood council, the community, we're going to create our own federal regulation organisation. We're going to use their rules. It's easy. The federal government just download the federal requirements, but we're going to go visit the schools to make sure they're doing what they should be doing.
And yo,
That sounds good.
this 2013-14 school year, Title I federal law is fully 100% in place.
That's right.
Because there have been no reauthorization.
And special ed.
Yeah,
Okay?
and special ed.
And special
So
ed.
program rules and financial management rules still apply. You're seeing that. So if the teachers are in the room, when they tell you in those school site council meetings, oh, we can't do this because we don't have money, oh, the rules have changed, I'm showing you they're lying to you. It's not Yolande Beckles. That's why I didn't produce my own PowerPoint. I thought it was more powerful to show you the state's PowerPoint that they're training everybody in so you can quote West End. You don't have to quote Yolande Beckles. Alright?
LCFF do not change federal funding related requirements. Local educational agencies should continue to prepare federally required improvement plans such as Title I and Title III
Did you hear that? They still. Did you hear that? Like you got hearing.
We got that in black and white from the bed.
Yeah. Listen.
Second, follow federal regulations. Program rules and financial management rules still apply. The changes made by LCFF do not change federal funding or related requirements. Local educational agencies should continue to prepare federally required improvement plans such as Title I and Title III corrective action plans and school-level single plan for student achievements.
Okay. How many of you sit on a school site council?
What part?
How many of you sit on a school site council?
Wow.
How many of you sit on a school site council?
Right here.
Right. And what have you been told this year about the funding? What did they tell you, Rosalie, whenever you asked them about the money? What did they tell you?
They always say it's reallocated somewhere else.
Well,
Redistributed.
Did anybody come and train you on the SSD? Right or up, that's a state federal violation. That's a violation. Look, your job, listen to me. When you first got elected as officers, you were supposed to be trained immediately.
And they didn't. So I have to listen just like I'm listening here.
If you guys don't put this black and white, it didn't happen.
You know.
No, not if you actually.
Well, let me tell you what happened. Why they don't like me so much, so you have the history. So, Walter and I and Roberta, when they got rid of the DAC, we decided to recreate ourselves doing what we're doing. We thought, there's 1 million parents in Title I, so if we do what Obama did, when Obama went in his first campaign, he would go to communities and say, there's my bucket, like he was a buster, drop $1 in the bucket. So we created this organisation called the California Title I Parent Union, and everywhere we went, we asked the parents to drop $1 in the bucket. When Daisy realised that we were building this movement, he started to put out bad information on me, which is held by this crazy white woman on the website, right? Yeah. So, you see, what you need to understand about how I was raised, I don't have any fear. My parents taught me that there is no such thing as fear. You can do anything and be anything. It's really down to you. And if you believe in that higher power, you know that's true. So whenever I've gone down, got myself up, crush on off, I've gone again, okay? So you understand who you're dealing with and how you're dealing with. So Walter and me continued to go around the country talking to parents and getting information. And we started to create friendships with people in government departments who realised that we were onto something, which was finding out the truth about where all this money was going, alright? George had his approach, we had our approach. We would couch it under the term parental involvement, because then you weren't a threat. Because don't forget, they weren't scared of parents, right? Right. Because they didn't have no knowledge. If you don't have knowledge, how can you be scared of them? They don't know none. But I was an outsider who already done this elsewhere. So I knew that to follow the money was the key, was the secret behind it. Walter and others years earlier, they'd already sued the district for the same issues. So we started to write to the federal government and the state, and they used to reply to all my emails. George used to be in my office, and we'd be laughing, saying, God, we can't believe they're telling us all this stuff. Do they realise who I am? They ain't even been off the website yet. So we started to collect all this data, and then they heard that we sued the district. Everybody, the doors were open, and they would report like, all of a sudden started to wouldn't reply to my emails, started to call me and say, we're really sorry, Yolanda, we can't answer these questions anymore, because I knew how to ask the questions. Okay? And what I'm saying is we've got to learn how to keep asking the questions. I just passed you a letter. The reason why this particular slide is so important, and I didn't realise it was this important until I reread my whole training last night, because there's a letter that I've just given you. There's 9 school districts in 2012-13 that created this thing called CORE, California Office for Reform in Education. We thought that was a good thing when we read their doctrine, but when you realise who was behind the doctrine, you realise it was not a good thing, right? So they created this concept that if we become like a state, listen to these people's craziness. Listen to their craziness. If the 8 biggest school districts in California, LAUSD, Oakland, San Francisco, Fresno, San Diego, become Long Beach, become their own school district, that's like being